Welcome to Health AI Insights, where we dive into the transformative world of artificial intelligence in healthcare. I'm Lily Body, your guide through this fascinating journey at the intersection of technology and medicine. Imagine a future where AI predicts illness before they strike, where your medical records are instantly accessible and securely stored, and where personalized treatment plans are crafted just for you. That future is happening now, and right here at the University of Texas at Austin, we are on the forefront of this revolution. Each week, we'll bring you in-depth interviews with leading experts, groundbreaking research, and real-world applications of AI in healthcare. Whether you're a tech enthusiast, a healthcare professional, or just curious about the future of medicine, this podcast is your go-to source for all things AI in health. So get ready to be inspired, informed, and amazed. This is Health AI Insights, where the future of healthcare is unfolding today. Today I'm here with Bo Holland. Bo, could you share a little bit about your background in AI and healthcare and tell us what HealthBank One is?
Absolutely. Yeah, so my background, I'm a software entrepreneur, so I've been building software startup businesses all my life. The last 20 years have really been focused in banking applications, so helping build digital banks in the Nordic regions in Europe, and also building payment systems here in the US with Visa and so forth. And on the personal side, I got engaged in healthcare when my son was diagnosed with a very rare brain cancer. And so we went on a complex journey. It's a good news story in that they saved his life and he just passed his 10-year survivorship. So he is doing well. But during that experience, I really ran into this problem of, how do you get the patient's data to follow them wherever they go on their journey? And particularly if you're on a complicated journey, you meet lots of doctors and lots of specialists and, you move around. And so our system currently, is not designed that way. The data doesn't follow the patient. So that was what really sparked my interest in, this idea that we really ought to have a banking system for our health data where it works just like money and it's easily accessible, it's safe, we can use it whenever we want to, we can move it wherever we want to worldwide. Why can't we do that with our health data if we can do it with our money? So that was really what got me into this space. And so we have created a new platform that we call HealthBank One. So it's intended to be the first of what will be many different health banks serving different patient communities and different needs. But we've launched this very first one. It's going to be coming out on October 15th, available to the public. So excited to be here. Thank you.
Of course. Okay, so like you were saying, countries like Sweden have already had this kind of technology in place for years. Why do you think this is just now happening in the US? And how is this revolutionary in the field of medical data?
Yeah. Well, one thing that's different in other countries is many of them have a national health system. And so everybody's operating out of one health system. And so the information within a country is often shared. So you go to any doctor in Sweden or Norway, in Germany, and they will be able to pull up your data and be able to have that history and know you and know your background, your conditions, what procedures you've had, what allergies you have, what medications you're on, right? All those questions that doctors need in order to do their jobs. The US system is quite a bit different. We don't have a one public system. We have a private system that's highly fragmented. So lots of players, and they're all required to compete. And so in our environment, you get this problem of as you go from one doctor to the other, your information isn't shared because it's actually across different organizational boundaries. And as we know, corporations don't like to share data. They want you to come back to them and keep being their customer. And so it creates this very unique situation in the US where because we require everybody to compete, it creates this, I think, unintended side effect of, well, nobody wants to share your data. And so we as patients don't have our data, so we're not in control of it. And so we're completely dependent on the kindness of these corporations to say, hey, would you please send my information from here to my new doctor? But of course, they'll do it sometimes, but it may be very slow. They do it on their timetable, and it doesn't always line up with what we need as consumers. So there's a real misalignment because of the complexity and the uniqueness of the U.S. healthcare system.
Yeah, so kind of like what you were saying about data ownership and privacy, companies like Facebook and Instagram are often criticized for owning and selling user data. Hospitals and health companies can similarly sell patient data, with the only difference being that the data must be de-identified. How does HealthBank One handle data differently, and what does this mean for patients in terms of privacy and control over personal health data?
Well, it's a really important question because what the world does not need is someone else that's trading in your healthcare information, right? This is your most sensitive information, and we don't want it to be sold. But in fact, in the U.S., there's an $84 billion market for trading healthcare information between all the institutions, and so people are making a lot of money off it, but consumers aren't even aware of it. And a lot of times, it is moving it around for purposes that we approve of, or it gets de-identified, but it's all very opaque to us. We don't know what's happening, but there's a very big market in health data. So as we thought about how do you actually fix this problem and how do you do it in a way that's responsible and how would consumers really like it? How would I like this to work for my son? How do I want this to work for my family? And so we want to make sure that consumers are not the product here and they're getting traded out. We don't need any more of that. And so we've designed Health Bank One again to work just like a money bank, that there's never a question about who owns this data in the bank. The answer is always you, the patient. You own that data, you control it. And just like money, it doesn't leave the bank without your explicit authorization. So I never have a fight with Bank of America or with Chase about whose money is that in that account. They're pretty quick to say, no, that's your money, Bo. And I say, great. And then if I ask them, are you doing anything with my money? Are you moving it around? Are you trading it with other people? Are you sending it places that I'm not aware of? The answer is no. Your money doesn't leave this account without your explicit authorization. And so we're just following those same two simple rules in building the health bank. You own your data, absolutely, positively. You can do whatever you want with it. Number two, no data leaves the health bank without your explicit authorization. And we use a high security digital identity to make sure that we've got your authorization. It's not simple questions or passwords. We don't rely on that technology. And so you've got a very clear platform. And then the final thing about a health bank is that once you do release your information and you move it, again, it's like money. Once you have given your money to someone else, and you've sent it to a seller or a merchant or a friend, it's now their money. You've transferred the ownership. And so same rules apply to the health bank, that when you do share your information with an institution, be aware that at that point, the bank is no longer in control of it. You're not in control of it. It's now under their control. And so their privacy rules and their policies apply at that point. But we think that structure makes it really simple. You own the data, doesn't go anywhere without your explicit authorization ever. And when you do authorize it to move, now understand that you've moved it to a place and now it's under their control. You still have your copy, right? You're just giving them a copy, but now that copy is subject to their privacy principles.
Yeah. So, kind of what challenges have y'all faced in implementing this technology, or what challenges do you foresee will happen in the future?
Well, the biggest challenge has been extracting this data from the healthcare system, right? And there's two aspects of that. One, knowing where your data is. So what was the name of that lab? What was the name of that doctor? When did I go there, right? And so there's that piece of it. And then there's actually sending out the orders to request it. And what's new and unique and why this opportunity can work now is because Congress passed a law. It's called the 21st Century Cures Act. So they passed this law in 2016. It finally went into effect in 2022. And so October 6th of 2022, patients became powerful. We got a non-negotiable right to all of our data in electronic form, and in most cases at no cost. And so we are entitled to this data. So we have the right. What was missing is, well, how do I do that, right? How do I go exercise this right? How do I put it into practice? And so we built this platform, the Health Bank platform, to actually make that easy. So it consists of a mobile app that you can just download from your app store. You basically just place orders just like you do on Amazon. So who are your doctors? You can look it up by the doctor, you can look it up by the organization, and then basically place an order. And then whatever technology the provider has on the other side, we're really independent of that. We don't care. What we are going to do is say, hey, Lily's entitled to her data. And so she's exercised her right. Here's a demand letter for that data. And then we give the providers multiple ways to get that information back to us. They can use APIs. They can use a drag and drop site like Dropbox. They can fax it back to us, which they all know how to do faxes. So we basically made it very easy for them to get that data to you. And then when we receive it in a useful form. And so those are the steps that were the most difficult, is how do you go, have a national directory of every provider, because we don't want any gaps, right? You're entitled to your data no matter what technology they have. We don't care what EHR they have. Don't care whether all they know how to do is use a fax, right? Rather than use APIs. we're going to get the data. So figuring out how to build that was a real challenge. But now we've had it operational for about a year. It's very reliable, it's fast, works well. And we think we've made it pretty easy for the providers as well. But that was the biggest challenge. How do you get the data out of all the nooks and crannies in the healthcare system?
Yes, I could totally see how that could be a big problem. So, how are y'all addressing skepticism to this technology between healthcare professionals and also the consumers?
Well, there's two layers to the problem that we're solving. Number one is getting the data and then being able to share the data wherever you want it to go. And so there, we're really not encountering much skepticism. People understand that, getting data, sharing data. We have lots of systems that do that, particularly in banking, systems that do that very securely. So that's been the number one concern is, okay, if the patient is going to have access to all this data and they're going to be storing it and sharing it, how do we make sure that that's happening in a way that's safe? Healthcare is not known for its security. In fact, it's got more data breaches and privacy breaches than any other industry in the market. And so what we have done is basically taken proven technology that we've used in digital banking, using these very high security digital IDs that don't rely on usernames and passwords and security questions or even one-time passcodes, much higher security capability so that when a patient is authorizing the sharing, when a patient is requesting their data, that everyone can have very high confidence that this, in fact, is the real patient. It's the real person. And so we're using proven technology from the digital banking work that we've done over the past 15 years to accomplish that. And so that addresses, I think, the security concern around receiving and sharing this data and putting that kind of power in the patient's hands. And so that's how we address the security issue. When we get to the second piece, we wanted to solve an additional problem, which is, as a patient, it's one thing to have my data, it's another to actually understand it. You get, the body is complicated, medicine is complicated. And so do I actually comprehend what my conditions are? Do I actually comprehend what the doctor is telling me? Why do I need to do this? Why do I need to take that pill? What does it do again? Why did the doctor say don't do this? What did the doctor say? I forgot. I was stressed. I only had 7 minutes. Some of the things I said may have gone over my head. All these $4 words, the Greek and Latin that is endemic in this space, right? It's all very complicated. And so we realized that there's two problems. There's one, getting the data and being able to share it, but then there's a communication problem on top of that, which is, do I understand what the doctor was telling me and why? And then likewise, does the doctor really understand me, right? Does the doctor really have the data they need on me to make the decision? And a lot of times on the doctor's end, they may get a 400-page and 800-page fax. On a complex patient like my son, he's got thousands of pages of data. Well, no one has time to go read a novel, on a given patient. And so there really is a communication problem on both ends, right? The doctor being able to say, I just need to know these 5 things about this patient in order to do my job, but I can't read 8,000 pages of documentation to get to that. So the AI is the second layer that we brought in to basically say, we can solve the communication problem for the doctor, get them the needles in the haystack, exactly the pieces of information they need about this patient very, very quickly, in seconds, rather than what they have to go through today. And so we think there's a lot of value in that. The second side, on the patient side, helping them understand their care, helping them understand what are my options, even what questions do I need to ask. So too often as a patient, we don't even know the right questions to be asking. Well, now I can rely on the AI to take these big, complicated words and simplify it for me. I can ask it as many questions as I want. I don't have a 7-minute or a 17-minute timeout, with the doctor where they have to get to the next appointment. I can spend as much time as I want to with the AI asking and asking and asking questions. And so really powerful to start solving that communication problem between the two. So the skepticism that comes with that is always, well, how accurate is this AI? Is it providing good information? Is it getting the right information? What is it doing? And so what we're doing there is, one, just being very upfront about the risk that this is a new technology. We are using the gold standard for medical AI. So we're using GPT-4o, which the medical community, Stanford runs basically benchmarks on accuracy. And at this point, for GPT-4o as the gold standard, it's outperforming most medical students. It's as good as most doctors are at asking the kind of questions that we're asking. We're not asking it to do diagnosis, right? This is help the doctor get what they need to know about this patient. What medications are they on? What conditions do they have? What procedures has they had? That's really what they need. And on the patient side, what is a myocardial infarction? Oh, it's a heart attack. Okay, now I get it. Right, we're doing that kind of informational level translation. So this technology is really, really good at that. At the same time, it's not perfect, and so we put the waivers out the first time you use Care Guide. Recognize this is an information tool. It does make mistakes, so always verify answers and always talk to your provider about this. And so those are the kind of caveats we put around it. And the same thing on the doctor side, you can use this to get the information out very quickly, but always, verify that with the patient or verify it with the record. So like any technology, it's not perfect, but when you think about what this does compared to what we as patients use today, we always use Google, we use WebMD, and it's not personalized. It doesn't know anything about us. It gives you reams and reams of, information, but very quickly you just get lost. And so this technology is 1,000 times better, than a Google search, than a WebMD article, and making, really helping you understand your conditions. But we have to be upfront and make sure that people are conscious and aware that just as there's things on the internet that you found that are incorrect, just as you've talked to a human doctor and they may have told you something that was incorrect, the AI has the very same flaws, and so you need to be aware of that and use it appropriately.
Okay, so I love HealthBank One. I've been using it and I was playing around with the AI tool and I asked it questions about like my personal medical records that had gone on there. And one of my medications was wrong. And this was not a problem on y'all's end, it was a problem on my provider's end. And I like they must have put it in wrong. And I think that providers right now have a lot of anonymity with like not having to be as upfront with medical records. So do you think this is going to pose any challenges to doctors that are not used to having all this out in the open all the time?
We've seen estimates that upwards of 20 to 30% of the data that's in an EHR may be inaccurate, right? Somebody typed in the wrong medication, or they picked the wrong code, or they picked the wrong John Smith, when they were pulling up the right record, right? There's a problem called patient misidentification, which involves you put the, the information may be right, but you put it in the wrong patient's file. And so there's a whole bunch of garbage inside of these EHRs, but it has never had much sunlight on it, right? Nobody knows. And so one of the things we find is when a patient starts poking around and looks like you just had this experience, you saw something in there that wasn't yours. So either that somebody just mistyped it in your record, they intended to put it in your record, but they put in the wrong thing. Or there's another Lily body out there and, they got the wrong one when they did this. So some mistake happened, so a clerical mistake. But up to this point, patients really haven't had visibility into that, right? And so we haven't been able to see the mistakes. Well, now with this new law, we can actually see the data, we can get the data, and all these things are going to come to the surface. And so they're just going to have to be have a process where you can basically say, hey, this is wrong, right? Have a dispute process, and then they can go correct it. But it's actually really important to go correct it because people rely on this. What medications are you taking? This is what drives treatment. It's what drives diagnosis. And so if the information is inaccurate, that's going to be a problem. And so this is a good thing, right? That adding a little sunlight, we can see it. Now you can report back to your doctor, hey, this is wrong. Please fix it because I don't want that. I don't want anyone to rely on this bad information going forward. So, I think many doctors will welcome that. It's like, whoa, here's an opportunity to find these mistakes, to correct them. We can all do a better job. There'll be, of course, people who don't like that. They would have just preferred that it stayed in the dark and they never had to deal with it. But overall, the system is going to get better. We went through this in banking with credit bureaus, right? So there was a lot of credit data that was in your credit files. But up until the point, which is about 2004, where consumers actually got the right to see their credit files and see what was in them. And the same thing happened, right? Suddenly you saw stuff that wasn't yours. It didn't belong to you. It was affecting your score, but it wasn't yours. And so that whole industry went through a process of, okay, now we got to clean this up. And there was some angst at the beginning, but ultimately, the system got a lot more accurate and a lot better and a lot cleaner. Because now you had a set of eyes on it that weren't there before that could spot problems. And so, you're the authority on you, and where you're banking, and what medications you're taking, and that's really valuable information. And so to get this stuff cleaned up, I think is a good thing.
Yes, I agree. Okay, I got one last question for you. What advice do you have to young AI experts and entrepreneurs looking to apply their skills to healthcare, and what unique opportunities exist in this field?
Well, that is a good question. There are so many opportunities in healthcare. This is an industry that is way behind on technology. That has been a very closed kind of environment where you couldn't see things, you couldn't do things, you couldn't access things. Just a series of blocks, right? Healthcare is a series of obstacles, and so we all feel that as we try to find the care that we need and find the answers that we need. And so I think we're in a position now where essentially, these laws have gone into place that says, we can open up these options. And now that you can actually have your records, right now they're mobile, they're with you all the time. And that opens up new options for you, new choices, right? So you don't have to keep going back to the same old place that you're unhappy with. Because they always made you fill out the forms again. They ask you the same questions. They never remember anything about you. They charge you high prices. They don't tell you what the prices are. So all these things that we dislike about the old healthcare system, now you've got this very fundamental change that says, wow, the patients have now got their data. And so if you don't like where you've been going, but it was too hard to change, well, now you've got your data and it's very easy to go try one of these new services, right? So you go invent one of these new services that works the way you would like it to, as a consumer. So retail and banking, all very, very convenient, right? They don't ask us to fill out forms every time and tell me who you are again. Tell me your history. They actually keep track of that stuff. And so I think there's so many opportunities now that patients can actually have their data. They're much more mobile. They can move and take advantage of new services. So, go create those new services, go create new experiences the way that you would like them to. And the AI brings another layer to that, which is actually understanding, what you need. Because again, the other limitation beyond not having our data, we didn't know enough, right? We didn't know enough about medicine, about the options, about what's available out there. Is there a generic, for this drug that would be less expensive? The price changes, what you might get charged for something like a CT scan, is just crazy. It might be $200 at one place, it might be $4,000, in another circumstance, and it's the same CT scan. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity around price transparency now. But if the patients, can now have all their data, they can have a world of knowledge, with the AI. So now we can become much better shoppers. We can actually start shopping, right? Before you really couldn't. You didn't know anything. You didn't have your data. Nobody told you what anything cost. You don't understand even what you need. Now we became a lot smarter. So I think the opportunities, for any student who's getting started in this space is to say, how can I go create experiences? How can I reduce cost? How can I take away, delays and waste? There's so much of that in the space. And now that patients are empowered and have choice and have this medical knowledge, at their, in their handset, right, in their pocket, what can be different about this healthcare system? So this opening that's happening, I think, is going to create just a tremendous number of opportunities that people can pursue. And, it's really quite exciting to be able to take an industry that is so far behind and try and catch up with the rest of the world.
Yes. Okay, one more question if you have time. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Why do you think it's so behind? Like why we have so much other technology, like in banking, for example, you were saying, and healthcare is so far behind. Why do you think that is?
I think these are smart, hardworking people. So that is not the problem. It's not that we have, people that aren't working hard and aren't smart. I think that medicine is just so complicated. The human body is so complicated, and figuring out how to treat it, how to care for it, how to cure it, that is an overwhelming job. And so technology on itself is complicated and hard and expensive. And so I think one of the unique challenges that healthcare faces is they've got two really complicated jobs, you know, understanding and fixing the human body. Um, Banks don't have that problem, right? Banking is easy, right? You're just counting numbers, you're moving them from accounts, you're wiring money, right? It's a much simpler thing. In banking, we don't have to save lives. And so the complexity, the burden, the urgency, the chaos, that comes with saving lives, all of that just consumes all the oxygen and the attention and the money. And so there's just not a whole lot left over for going to solve the technology problems. And so I think that's the fundamental rub, is it's just an extremely hard and difficult job. And so part of what we hope is it can happen is that, right now the institutions have had to try to figure out how to do both, right? We got to somehow save lives and get good at technology. And they really haven't been able to do both jobs. And so by opening this up and saying, you know what, now the patients can have the data, they can have the knowledge, they can go where they need to go. It can maybe release some of that technology burden, and organizations like ourselves, we are bringing new technology into this space in a way that we think is going to really benefit providers, but also benefit patients, and maybe reduce some of the technology burden that hospitals don't have to do it all now, right? You focus on saving the lives and technologies that we consumers need to be able to make choices and buy the right healthcare for us and make the right decisions. Now we can get technology from other places that can help us do that. You don't have to do it all. And so by opening up the environment, that's going to really open up innovation, open up choice, and I think reduce some of the pressure on these healthcare institutions of having to be good at both technology and saving lives, because there's lots of people that are good at technology. We really need them to be good at saving lives.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Lily. Enjoyed it.
Thanks for tuning in to Health AI Insights. We hope you found today's episode enlightening. Stay connected with us for more deep dives into the world of AI in healthcare. Follow the AI Health Lab on Instagram for updates on our next episode release. Want to get HealthBank One for yourself? Download HealthBank One today on the App Store or Google Play and simplify your healthcare journey. You can also visit the QR code on the screen or visit the link below. With your records always at your fingertips, you can access them anytime, anywhere. Make sure to check out the UT Austin AI Health Lab, which I will link below. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, keep exploring the future of health and technology.